He told her straight to her face, sliding the thick envelope across the dinner table like it was just another contract. I want a divorce. The company's mine, the house is mine, and you can't afford a lawyer to fight me. The candles she had lit for their dinner still flickered. The salmon she'd cooked was getting cold, and the jazz music in the background kept playing like the world hadn't just collapsed. She stared at him, mascara running down her cheeks, and whispered, "Ethan, what are you saying? Yesterday you kissed me goodbye like nothing was wrong." He leaned back in his chair, smiling with that cruel, smug calm only someone who thought they'd already won could manage. Yesterday was yesterday. Today I'm being honest. You signed the papers, Maya. You gave it all to me, and you can't afford the fight. To understand how they ended up in that moment, you have to rewind years earlier back to a dim library in Chicago, where Maya Johnson was buried in books trying to juggle a double major in law and business on scholarships and odd jobs. She wasn't the kind of girl people noticed plain jeans, thrift store sweaters, a bag of secondhand textbooks that weighed more than she did. But she carried herself with a quiet strength that came from her mother's voice, still echoing in her head. Knowledge is your armor, Maya. Love is beautiful, but never let it blind you. Protect yourself. That night she met Ethan Carter, a broke kid with hungry eyes and a worn-out jacket, pretending he understood the economics chapter in front of him. He asked if she could help him, and when she explained supply and demand with a smile, sketching graphs in the margins of his notebook, he looked at her like she had just made the world make sense for the first time. "You're extraordinary," he murmured, and she laughed, blushing, brushing it off. But from that night on, they were inseparable study partners, neighbors, then lovers. Their first date wasn't champagne or fancy restaurants. It was peanut butter sandwiches in his tiny apartment, eating on the floor because he didn't own a table. Maya lifted half her sandwich like a toast and said, "One day we'll eat in the best restaurant in the city. Tonight, though, this is our feast of kings." Ethan grinned and answered, "If I have you beside me, I don't need the other half." That line stayed with her for years. Maya was brilliant, restless, always seeing opportunities where others saw problems. She scribbled business models on napkins, drafted contracts with language so tight no one could twist it, and studied late into the night, teaching Ethan everything she learned. He soaked it up. He was charismatic, good-looking, and people listened when he spoke, but the ideas, the strategies, the spark, those were hers. Together they built something out of nothing, a software platform that could save companies millions by fixing broken supply chains. Their first client almost didn't sign until Maya stepped into that boardroom in a dress she'd bought at a thrift store and spoke with such fire that every executive leaned forward, hanging on her words. By the time she was done, the CEO was begging them to start the project. That night in their cramped apartment, they clinked takeout boxes instead of champagne glasses, laughing and crying at the same time. They'd made it. Within 2 years, they weren't in that tiny apartment anymore. They had an office downtown, employees, clients lined up, money rolling in. And with that money came the dream house, 3 acres outside the city, marble floors, a balcony overlooking the skyline. When the real estate agent suggested putting the deed in Ethan's name for tax benefits, Maya stopped him cold. "No, both names. 50-50. This house is ours." Ethan smiled and agreed, but inside a seed of calculation was already growing. For a while, everything felt perfect. The company flourished. Magazines wanted interviews. Ethan wore expensive suits now, and people called him a visionary. He would walk into a room, shake hands, and charm everyone. But behind closed doors, it was still Maya, sketching strategies on whiteboards. Still her writing contracts late at night. Still her mind that kept them alive. She trusted him so deeply, she didn't notice the small changes at first. Documents, he said, needed signing quickly. Emails. She stopped receiving meetings she was too busy to attend. He told her, "Rest, Maya. You carried us this far. Let me take it from here." She wanted to believe it. She wanted to believe love meant trust. But trust had turned into a trap. Piece by piece, he transferred assets, removed her name, shut her out. And by the time she realized, it was too late. Or so he thought. That night with the divorce papers, Maya crumbled, begging, "We can fix this. We can go back to the way we were." She reached for his hand, desperate, whispering, "I don't care about money or the house. I only want you." For a split second, his fingers twitched, and hope flared inside her. But then he smiled a cold, hollow smile and said, "You always were sentimental. Sign the papers. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." And he left her there, kneeling beside the untouched dinner, the candles burning down to nothing. She cried until no tears were left. Then in the silence of his study, she found the files. She read every contract, every clause she had signed under his pressure, and her heart turned from broken to blazing. He had underestimated her. He forgot she wasn't just the woman who loved him. She was the one who built the empire in the first place. And she still had her armor knowledge. For weeks, she transformed their mansion's library into her war room. Legal books spread across the table, evidence pinned to boards, her laptop glowing late into the night. She dug up pitch decks in her handwriting bank records showing her personal savings had funded their start emails, proving she'd negotiated every early contract. She contacted old employees, the programmers and managers who remembered who really ran the show. One by one, they agreed to testify. Ethan thought she couldn't afford a lawyer. He was right, she didn't hire one. She became her own. The day of the trial, Ethan walked in with 4 top-tier attorneys in $1,000 suits, his entourage carrying briefcases like soldiers marching into battle. He looked invincible, grinning at reporters who snapped photos. Maya walked in alone. Black suit, worn briefcase, no team behind her. Just calm eyes and a quiet fire that hadn't burned in years. His lawyer stood and painted her as a pampered wife, a woman trying to steal from the genius who built it all. She contributed nothing of substance. He said smoothly, "This company is Mr. Carter's creation." The gallery nodded, reporters scribbling. Then it was Maya's turn. She rose, her voice steady, almost conversational. "Your Honor, opposing counsel has just told a fascinating fairy tale. But this courtroom deals in facts." She held up the first exhibit, her original pitch deck, every page filled with her handwriting. Exhibit A. The presentation that won our first client. Ethan's name appears nowhere. The courtroom shifted. She brought out banking records, next transfers from her personal savings, not his. Emails negotiating contracts, her signature on employee handbooks. Technical diagrams she had drawn herself. Witnesses took the stand, an engineer saying, "She designed every algorithm. Ethan didn't even understand the code." A manager adding, "She made every strategic decision. Ethan just delivered her words." Finally, she turned to Ethan himself. "Tell us, Ethan," she asked, voice cutting through the room. "How did you solve the Morrison crisis, the algorithm that saved a $10 million client?" He stammered, sweat breaking on his forehead. "The technical details aren't really relevant." Maya slammed the emails on the table. "Not relevant. Here's my work at 3 a.m, solving it while you slept. Your name isn't on any of it." The gallery gasped. Reporters leaned forward. Ethan's confident mask cracked. Then came the killing blow, financial records showing money siphoned to Misha, his mistress, under fake marketing invoices. Dinners, jewelry, hotel bills, all paid from the company account. The judge's face hardened. Ethan's lawyers stopped objecting. Everyone knew the case was over. When the verdict came, the judge's voice was sharp as steel. "The transfer agreements are void. Maya Johnson is restored as co-founder and equal owner. The house remains under joint ownership, and Mr. Carter will bear all costs." Ethan slumped in his chair, ruined. Maya simply gathered her papers, calm and unhurried. As she walked out, he called after her, desperate, "Maya, wait. We can talk about this." She stopped at the door, not turning back. "You stole my love, Ethan. You stole my company. But you couldn't steal my legacy, because you never understood it. My story belongs to me again." And she walked into the sunlight, free. So here's the question for you. When someone betrays love for greed, do they deserve a second chance? Or did Maya do exactly what needed to be done? Comment below. I want to hear your take on betrayal justice, and whether you've ever seen someone underestimated only to rise and claim victory in the end. Don't just watch, be part of the conversation.